Our next speaker is Mataji Divyanandaprana, Principal Nivedita Vidya Mandir and editor of Samvit, New Delhi. She is a monastic member, none of the Sri Sharda Mat Dakshineshwar, and is presently posted at Ramakrishna Sharda Mission, New Delhi. She is the editor of Samvit, the English journal of Sri Sharda Mat. She was the principal of Nivedita Vidya Mandir, New Delhi from 2014 till 2019. She's a regular speaker at different institutes of national repute like the IITs, IIMs, and other universities, as well as many international platforms. May I request Mataji to come and give us her views.
So namaste and a very good day to all dignitaries assembled on World Values Day. I am really happy to be part of this program. And today we have taken up the discussion on values. Values are the only key to a meaningful life, and they are the ones which give direction to our thought and life. In fact, the dictionary definition of value is that which you esteem for its own sake. So usually when it comes to values, we have this tendency to think that values are specific to a particular culture and they are not universal. The basic source of values is that the gateway lies in the human conscience. A well-developed human mind itself will show us the way to values in life. There's an interesting incident in the life of Mahatma Gandhi, which I would like to quote here. So even as a little boy, you may be knowing this incident, many of you. Gandhiji, at that time he was called Mohandas. Even as a young boy in school, he was very particular about truth. And once his teacher urged him to copy from a fellow student. He couldn't spell the word kettle. And the teacher wanted him to do it using his neighbor. But Gandhi refused. The boy refused because this value of truth was so strong in him. So this clearly shows from where does value arise? It arises from the human heart. And everything of value actually, it starts from within us. Like the hatching of an egg, you can say. It takes place from within the egg. So also values arise from within us. So if we have not cultivated this part of our personality, the heart and the mind, then obviously we will have to be, values will appear like impositions to us, something forced upon us from the outside, which we have to do it because it's an imposition. But it's not so. Values are the natural development of the human mind and the developed human heart. So in all these lives of great people, you will find a number of such values spontaneously rising forth. I can give you another example, which is the common example which we use in the Vedic culture. They say that you can learn everything of value in human life just by watching a tree. Look at a tree in your garden or a nice plant. See, it survives on just sunlight and water. That is all that you need to provide. And what does it give us? Our very breathing is due to these trees, isn't it? You can say a part of our breathing mechanism is hanging up there. They give us oxygen, they give us shade, and they give us fruit and flowers and everything that we use. It comes from plant life. And all this they do without any expectation, without any discrimination in any sense. And it's equally given to one and all. So you can learn so much from just by observing nature. And that is why, in the Vedic paradigm of understanding values, they always say that you have to constantly watch nature in order to imbibe the great values of life. In the Bhagavad Gita, which is considered the essence of the Vedas and the Upanishads, we have a picture of these great values which elevate human life. And these are, again, you see, very universal. They are in no way parochial or only meant for one particular culture. I would like to read out these values which are mentioned in chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita, and you can notice how universal these values are. They apply to everybody and they are a source of inspiration for everybody because they are very general values which arise directly from the human heart. Abhayam sattva samshuddhi jnana yoga vyavasthitihi dharam damasya yajnasya swadhyaya stapa arjavam. Fearlessness, purity of heart, steadfastness in the yoga of knowledge, charity, self-control, sacrifice, study, austerity, uprightness, ahimsa, satyama krodha, tyaga shantir apaishunam, daya bhuteshu loluptam, ardavam hira chapalam, non-injury, truthfulness, absence of anger, self-sacrifice, tranquility, freedom from slander, kindness to all beings, non-covetousness, gentleness, modesty, absence of fickleness. It's very clear that these values are very universal. And then Teja, Kshama, Dhriti, Shaucham, Adroho, Nati, Manita, Bhavanti, Sampadam, Devim, Abhijatasya Bharata. Boldness, forgiveness, fortitude, purity, absence of hatred, absence of conceit, these belong to one of divine nature. You see, they are considered divine attributes of the human personality, the highest values which ennoble and elevate human life. And these values are common across all cultures, and they indeed, you can say, they arouse the divinity within the human being, if cultivated. That is why all that is required when it comes to values is the cultivation of the human heart, which is something we ignore. And these values are direct pointers towards that. In the modern world today, our values to a great extent are influenced by popular media. But, even social media platforms or networks, how are they defined? I was recently reading an article and they define social media networks as short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops, which lead to addiction and stress. Now, what we are taking in through the senses, to a large extent, is creating our thought world. Values, as I told you, arise directly from the human heart, from the human conscience. So a little cultivation of the interior, a little cultivation of the human mind and heart, a little meditation in our everyday lives practically, will naturally bring home all these values which we hold to be so dear, which we are expecting to see in others, which we are expecting to see in our societies. They will naturally come into play through a cultivation of the human heart, to a cultivation of an ennobling of human feeling. These values will naturally come into our lives. Purely material values are limiting in their effect, as we all know. But a spiritual value is forever. Knowledge is forever. There is that beautiful incident in the life of Einstein. You might have heard of this one also. When the state of Israel was created, and Einstein was requested to, at one point of time, to become the president of the state of Israel, because he was a Jew himself. You know what his answer was? His answer was, he refused. He said, no, I don't want presidentship. Why? Because presidentship will come and presidentship will go, but an equation is forever, he said. So the love of knowledge is such an enormous value in his mind that even presidentship is irrelevant there. War was irrelevant. Everything else was irrelevant. So the love of knowledge has become the supreme value in the human mind. So this is the power of value. Whatever we hold to be dear, that is going to influence us tremendously, and that is what is going to impact others. So let us remember this. Values arise from personal virtue. Value is not something which you set up in the workplace. Value is not something which is concocted. Value is not something which is imposed from the outside. Value is something which arises from virtue in the human heart. So to be virtuous is the first step to be value oriented. We must, if we pay attention to the cultivation of virtue in personal life, it will naturally translate into values in the workplace. I always say this in corporate offices where we are constantly talking about values in any corporate. They have their own organizational values. So where does it arise from? It should arise from the human heart, from the human conscience, from a virtuous life basically. Once Jiddu Krishnamurti, the famous mystic of India, was being interviewed by BBC, and the interviewer asked him, "Sir, what is your opinion on meditation?" And Jiddu Krishnamurti said, "Meditation is useless." And the interviewer said, "Sir, you are talking on BBC and the whole world is watching you, and we know the worth of meditation. How do you say it's useless?" And Jiddu Krishnamurti said, "Look, meditation is useless until you put your own life in order, until you put your own home in order. So if our house is in order, then only will come values in our workplace." That is the point, which means virtue is to be cultivated in personal life. This is a point which we miss out. That which will not encourage virtue in personal life. This is there spread out in all scriptures. Basically, it is targeting the human being to elevate his own life by himself. And then naturally, value will come, values will arise in the workplace. The values which we hold to be dear: integrity, honesty, acceptance, and love, kindness. All of this will naturally happen if I have a well-developed heart and mind. So this is a point we should remember, and also that values are universal. Let us not label them as something specific to cultures, particular cultures, and then we will tend to bypass a whole lot of things. But values are universal. Finally, let me conclude with, I would say these are guidelines to understanding values, to accepting values in our own being. I would like to give you 4 such guidelines which we commonly give, because in today's secular world, we may have hesitation about accepting this value or that value, but there are certain guidelines to understanding and accepting values. The first is respect your conscience. It will tell you what is valuable in life. The second guideline to values is acknowledge the unity of existence. Just watch your own breath, your own body, your mind. You will see they are in constant dynamic exchange with the environment around you. The thoughts we are thinking just now, they have come out of other minds. The plate of food which comes before us, when we are having lunch, the plate of food in front of us has been created by the efforts of at least 15 men, starting from the farmer who sowed seeds. So we are creatures born out of the efforts of others. So let us be grateful. Let us acknowledge this. Let us be appreciative of the efforts of others. This will come naturally if we acknowledge the unity of all existence. The third important guideline to accepting values is respecting the sanctity of family values. The family is the fulcrum of sanity. The family is the fulcrum of our emotional and spiritual intelligence, because it is the bedrock of human development. So if we are not respecting family values, nowadays with youngsters, the tendency is to play down family values. If we are doing that, well, our entire society is at risk. Our societies will be at risk in the future if we do not respect family values. The fourth guideline I would say is the most important value. It is called Parama Purushartha in Sanskrit, which means the most important value in the human life is seeking the source of our existence. Seeking God, you can say seeking Brahman, knowing who I am, whatever you call it. But seeking the source of human existence is the ultimate value. In the Vedic sciences, in Vedant, we say man is divine in his essence, and values are nothing but an expression of that divinity in the everyday world. So with this understanding of values, I would like to conclude my talk so that there is time for Q&A. So thank you, Rahulji, and everyone.
Thank you very much for your deliverance, giving us so many examples of values and the guidelines which we should all follow. And I'm sure it will enlighten all, especially the youth in today's world. We have a question for Mataji by Gaurav Chakrabarti, who wants to know that how we can continue our work in a team without expecting anything from others. As you said, we should be like a tree, should always try to give, but at the same time, as a human being, we have got some expectations.
So it's basically about team ethics. How do I work how do we work as a team, and with not too much expectation, and yet at the same time manage to achieve our goals. See, the thing is, when the main value in teamwork is you are able to relate positively with everyone and move together because you have a single goal as your vision. If you have a single goal as a vision with all of you, with all of the team members, then only you can move towards it. And then a respectful attitude towards every person, every member of the team, and a positive mindset. These are the values which make teamwork successful. So then how do I expect minimum and give maximum in a team? That should be a core personal value with us, that in any place, in any workplace, if you are able to contribute more than you receive, you will be of great value to the team. Have you not? See, these are the basic principles of leadership actually. If you are able to contribute more into the team than you receive, you are a natural leader there and you will be recognized as a leader. So how do I do it? You just have to, it's not about killing yourself in this. Just understand that the very nature of life is to give. Not that we are doing something especially great and good. The nature of life is to keep giving. Look at that plant behind Rahulji. That's the example I gave in the course of my talk. That plant contributes so much. It gives, you see the kind of aura it gives out. Even if you place it in a room, it changes the very space there. It changes the air there. And what, after all, are you providing it with? So it is a contributor. To understand that to be able to contribute itself is a great thing, is a unique value of human life. And this is what will make the team work. Once you understand the nature of life is giving, you will be a natural leader anywhere. And if you don't understand this value or grasp it, practice it, then of course, even if you have everything, you will be lamenting and dissatisfied. Always what next is there. So then that naturally takes away everything from the team. So this kind of a positive mindset, basically a spiritual orientation is required to life. That's the point.
Thank you, Mataji. That was very enlightening. And we have one question for Mataji from Dr. K.S. Sadeshiva Rao, that what is the reason that people are living with too much selfishness and narrow-mindedness, even though everyone we knows that life is very short? How to get awareness of this to reduce the problems of life with the people are forgetting values?
Mm-hmm. So what is the cause for selfishness? That is the question, basically. It is not understanding self. That leads to selfishness. You know, when you don't know that you are actually a spark of divinity, when you don't know this, you will invest all your energy only in the body-mind complex, in keeping the body well and in trying to keep the mind well. You don't go beyond that because you have no clue to the existence of consciousness shining through this body-mind complex. So that this creates a totally, you can say, jeopardizes your sense of values. Because then you will only, see, if you identify yourself only with a body and a mind, the only purpose of your life will be to enhance, to keep well the body-mind complex. So in a way you are functioning very egoistically, but you investigate the nature of the ego. What is it about? What is this I sense about? What does it lead to? So that is why I said this is the Param Purushartha. This is the supreme search in human life. To know what the I stands for. What does I mean? Who am I? So this will naturally lead us to the knowledge of the self, a divine spark, which is of the nature of supreme divinity. That is what is called the self. That is what we truly are, manifesting through this body-mind complex. So this will naturally make us unselfish, because you have touched the core of your being beyond this body-mind complex. So if you ask me what is the way to become unselfish, it is to dive into your true self, and you will naturally become unselfish. No philosophy or theory is required for it. Just acknowledging your true nature. That is all.
Thank you, Mataji. Can values be taught? If yes, why students in the classroom where values are being taught have different values in life?
No, very sorry. Values cannot be taught. Values can only be caught. You can only catch values, because values are something you need to see, to imbibe. Values are not meant to be just discussed like this. This is okay because it creates the thought forms and it helps us, but values are actually caught in life. And value is something, even don't think it is an external catching. You get inspired by something, and then that something reflects in your own heart. That's when it becomes a value with you. So then basically value is an unfolding of your conscience. I very much like what Mr. H.P. Konoria ji said. You pay respect to your conscience. That is the source of your values. And you will know in every situation what is the right thing to do. This, I think, is the bottom line regarding values.
Thank you so much.